Hi, everybody. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science. Welcome to our self-healing class. This is our Louise class, which, again, we have every week. If you're with us for the first time, again, I want to extend a welcome to you. We also meet on Wednesday evenings with the same Zoom links at 7 p.m. for our creative living class, and we have a gathering every Sunday morning at 10:45 for a meditation followed by our weekly lesson. So if you're tuning in now on Zoom, or you're attending via Spotify, Facebook, Insta, or any of the social platforms, welcome, welcome. Louise Hay is now considered one of the most important New Thought authors of the past generation, certainly one of the most successful ones. Louise Hay wrote the book, You Can Heal Your Life, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. It's probably the reason most of you are here. She was a practitioner here at our church in New York, and she received her training from Raymond Charles Barker. What some of you might not know is Louise Hay faced monumental challenges of her own during the time she was here that would test the very principles that she learned here at First Church. In the late 1970s, Louise was diagnosed with cervical cancer. This diagnosis came after she had already begun her journey here, her studies in New Thought, and after she had become a practitioner at First Church. Instead of succumbing to fear and despair, she decided to utilize and practice the very techniques that we bring you every week, and the techniques that she was beginning to teach others herself. Louise delved into her past to uncover and release old resentments and emotional wounds. She realized that holding on to anger and bitterness from her past was contributing to her illness, or as she would say, her dis-ease. The way she approached her life was using what she would call the positive approach. At that time, Louise intensified her journey of self-healing. She used affirmations, as you all know, visualizations, and of course, positive thinking. She repeated affirmations like, I am safe, and all is well in my world often. And she would say, every cell in my body is filled with divine health. So this evening, the lesson for this evening is Your Mind Can Heal You, which sounds like a Louise Hay title, but in fact it was a book written by Frederick Bales, who was one of the most popular, important teachers of New Thought of his time, and he would have been a contemporary of Ernest Holmes. He was certainly one of the most important teachers in New Thought. He had huge gatherings wherever he was, mostly out of California. I utilized his lesson today as an inspiration for this class, knowing it would fit in nicely with any self-healing gathering. Frederick Bales once said, our power of choice enables us to think like an angel or a devil. Our power of choice enables us to think like a king or a slave. Whatever we choose, mind will create and manifest. Let's repeat that together. Whatever we choose, mind will create and manifest. Bales really knew how much power we're all wielding indiscriminately. In other words, you have all the power in the world at your disposal, and you don't realize it. He thought that the greatest need for an individual, and even for the world at large, is to have a quiet mind. Most of us have minds that are racing, from thought to thought, and we don't harness our thinking very well. When we're teaching this teaching to children, in a program I learned many years ago called Quick Start, you'll put on a board a stagecoach, and the stagecoach would represent your comfort zone, the place where you think. And in front of the stagecoach, of course, is a platform, and in front of that are stallions, the horses, powerful horses. And the invitation is to get out of your comfort zones of the coach and to get on the platform and take the reins. Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of the teaching, said there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are a part. And you can use the power. And the fact of the matter is you are using it all the time, 24 hours a day. But as Bales was saying in this lesson, people are using the power without knowing. Life is responding to them positively or negatively. So he said our power, again, of choice enables us to think like an angel or a devil, a king or a slave. Whatever we choose, mind will create and manifest. So what a pity if we live our lives and have all this power and we just don't either know it or we don't learn how to utilize it. It's a great gift. And so you come into a teaching like this and you wake up to realize I'm one with the one. I'm an individualization of that thing myself. So Frederick Bales was great. He knew how much power that we all have, how much we wield, how much we use, how much that we... and he, like any good teacher, was attempting not to teach you what to think, but he was attempting to have you realize that you have the power within you to do just about anything you want to do. I've heard teachers throughout my adult life saying that life is always a reflection of consciousness, meaning your life is an outpicturing of your consciousness. And if you can think of it globally, the collective consciousness of the world is being outpictured in the world. Some of it, again, call it collective consciousness, or they call it race mind. It's where we are as people, and life is always moving forward. Consciousness is always leading the way. There have been people always who have been way ahead of their time. I always think of Emerson when I'm talking about this. You know, it could have been 200 years ago, but he was way, way, way ahead of his time. And when we study Emerson, they say, you know, a few from every generation have understood what he was talking about. There's always been people who have been way ahead of the curve. Ernest Holmes was another. He was the founder of religious science, and he emphasized the importance of taking a pause, having a quiet mind in creating a harmonious life. So in many lessons, we talk about taking the pause that refreshes, instilling ourselves. You've heard before from Ram Dass and others, be still and know that I'm God. The idea is, as Louise would say in her book, deep at the center of your being is this infinite well of intelligence, love, peace, and calm. It's always there, right where you are. You're standing on holy ground. The power, everything is right there within you. Throughout my studies, they used to say it's the best kept secret of the ages, that thing, that aspect, that divinity within you. So going back to Holmes, Holmes taught that by stilling your mind, quieting yourself down, meditating, it's the first step of affirmative prayer where you recognize that you are one with the one and there is this one power. We align ourselves with it, allowing ourselves to be informed by it, because we have this connection. It's undeniable. You know? The more you do your spiritual work, the more tangible it will be for you, the more you'll feel it, the more you'll sense it. When we tune in, we will receive all the guidance that we need in order to manifest our highest good. It seems like people run from their good, but Spirit is always there to remind you. And whenever you slow down long enough, you'll have this inner knowing, and we learn to trust it in this teaching. Ralph Waldo Emerson, as I mentioned, was one of the greats. He was a transcendentalist thinker. He believed that by bringing ourselves to a place of inner peace, we could rely on that voice, that self, to deliver us all that we will ever need. You might have read his essay, Self-Reliance, when you were in school. So we want to rely on that inner self. Ernest Holmes was teaching the same thing. Ernest Holmes was not trying to build churches. He was wanting you to have an authentic experience with that self, that higher self, which is within. You'll see as time goes on, it's always an inner journey. Every lesson that we talk about, no matter which author I choose to highlight, It's always going to be about you and your conversation with the most important person in the world, which is yourself. Uh, and I'm always, attempting to have people to awaken to how great you are, and let that spirit in you become alive. Emerson said, nothing can bring you peace but yourself. It's a powerful statement. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. We give our peace away. We give our power away all over the place to just about everybody. I will correct that. Uh, Many of us give our peace away. But you'll find as you stay in this teaching longer and you get more sincere in your practice, you'll find that you don't give your peace away as much. You'll get better and better and better. So Emerson understood that a quiet mind was essential for true self-discovery and personal empowerment. Wayne Dyer, another popular spiritual teacher, often spoke about the power of intention and the importance of quieting the mind so you could connect with Source. The same Source I'm talking about, the spirit within you operating through you. Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. So it's always an inside out. It always goes from your inner knowing to your outer realization. So this idea reflects that our external world is always a reflection of our internal state. We have to start always with ourselves. You've heard the song, Let It Begin With Me. Well, it has to begin with you. That's the way it works. When we learn that life is responding to us 24 hours a day, that we're part of it, in fact, individualizations of it, we come to. It's like we come out of a fog. We come out of this way of thinking where we might have used to think that we're not good enough in some way, we're not smart enough, we're not adequate, we're deficient. We compare ourselves to others negatively and all of that stuff. And we eventually come out of that type of thinking and we realize, oh my goodness, I have it within me. It responds to me. And you'll come to know that you can heal your life. You can become prosperous. You know that you have the power. Now, you might not personally be able to heal the entire world, but we certainly have a role to play. We can heal our lives and we can extend what we learn to other people. We can certainly create a world of peace and love for ourselves. And again, as I said, we can extend that to many people. So let's remember the importance of being still today. It's an important thing to remember because as you do, you'll be informed. As you learn to meditate or as you learn to do your affirmative prayers, you will receive information, valuable information. So let's remember to be still and realize that you are one with the one. You are one with this creative intelligence, this energy. Frederick Bales studied medicine, by the way. Very smart, brilliant kid. And he studied medicine because he was a sickly kid. He began to develop a spiritual philosophy for living, which led to his complete recovery of diabetes long before the discovery of insulin. Dr. Bales closely observed in his medical practice the mental factors which entered into the recovery patients who recovered, and he noticed that certain fundamental thought patterns invariably produced healthy bodily reactions. He had remarkable results with patients. Frederick Bales was very close to Ernest Holmes, if you didn't know that, and he taught self-healing to very large gatherings, such as the one we're in right now, every week. He also headed one of the largest self-healing centers of its day in Los Angeles. For almost 15 years, he gave public lectures such as this, reminding people of the power that they have. And he taught the fundamental laws underlying health and healing, prosperity as well. So he was dedicated to helping people, teaching his classes. People would come time and time again because everybody is a work in progress. And so this is something we do at the center the same way. We do our best to lift people up. We do our best to keep reminding you of the power you have, the ability you have to heal, to prosper. Uh, and we understand that everyone on this call is doing the best they can with the information, understanding, and awareness that you have. So you're growing, you're evolving, and you're, as Louise Hay would say, never, never criticize yourself, because you are where you are, and you've grown, and you will continue to grow. Furthermore, it's really wise of us to stop the process of criticizing others, because they are where they are also. Everyone's learning lessons, and everyone's in the perfect place, perfect time. And so we want to hold them harmless and know that everything is in divine order. So that was Frederick Bale's gift. That's the same gift that we share. It's the same thing that Louise Hay was doing. Louise was sharing a very similar message week after week, many in her early years, similar to what we do every Thursday here. And Dr. Bales, again, facilitated what I'll call spirit groups to a wide array of audiences, clubs, groups, churches, anybody who would listen to his message of self-healing. He was known to reach out to a wide variety of organizations and places. His desire was to show people, again, how to apply these principles to bring greater success and more happiness and health. He had this technique, which he called treatment. So we teach affirmative prayer. He taught it also. He added a couple of steps. I thought I'd share them with you this evening. I've done this like twice before over the years. It's always good to be reminded of these. Before I get into what I call his 7 R's for having powerful affirmative prayers, I'd like to share with you what Mr. Bales often said. He said, our wonderful teaching, our self-healing philosophy is not a few psychological tricks. He says, our way is a life to be lived. It's a life to be experienced and practiced. So I say that because people who come to religious science, who discover Louise Hay, sometimes you put her on the shelf after reading a bit of her books. We do the same thing with our textbook. And what we really want to do is we want to practice, what's in those pages. It requires just staying with it. So those of you who tune in regularly, or tune in on Facebook or YouTube, who listen to a lesson or re-listen to it, or go and listen to a meditation again, you're just fortifying what you understand, and I know for myself, for many, many years, probably 20, I would be in a class somewhere every single week. Wouldn't matter if I were a student in it or helping teach it or teaching it. It's simply because there's a need in me to be reminded, because if I don't keep on reminding myself of what I'll say, the truth of who I am and what I am, I'm apt to forget. Louise Hay, in one of her, it was a songbook by Hal Joseph. The lyric was, remembering and forgetting, it's the game that we play. So tuning in as often as we can will cause us to remember more often. There's lots of spiritual practices that anybody can also do during your regular day. You can practice timeouts to be mindful, time out to do affirmations, time out to just remember who and what you are. But it's important to do that. Tune in here as often as you can, because everything we do here is free. We don't charge anybody for any of our classes. You'll notice in the chat room, you could always give donations, though. We're happy to accept them, and we appreciate them, but there's no charge to be here. So tune in as often as you can. So we live the affirmative life. We practice it. Like Ernest Holmes, Frederick Bales wanted you to practice. And Ernest Holmes was very good in this way. He said, prove it to yourself. Don't take our word for it. Practice, practice, practice. And when I was younger and learning this teaching, people would be doing affirmative prayers or treatments for parking places. And I used to think it was silly. But the thing is, they were trying to get us to see that this will work if you practice it. So you begin seeing yourself as whole and healthy, and complete and prosperous and good and vital and valuable. You take on those ideas. And I've been practicing these teachings since I was a kid. With even Benjamin Franklin would assume a virtue if you have it not. Just take it on and affirm it and know it, and until you have a shift in consciousness, and you'll start to embody these principles. So back to Bales, Frederick Bales, very similar to us. He made his presentations to large audiences every single week. In addition to being an author of Your Mind Can Heal You and the Basic Principles of the Science of Mind, he wrote several other books as well. So today's lesson is titled Your Mind Can Heal You, which was the title of one of his books. And I am going to share his 7-step approach to affirmative prayer. We do it differently, as you know. We teach it with 5 steps. You could even teach it with 3 steps. Some people could probably even do it with less. So we do it differently. You'll notice most New Thought teachers approach it with a 5-step process. Please understand, affirmative prayer is not confusing. Affirmative prayer is a very simple process. There's some very basic things that you want to get right, though, so you don't get caught up. So please don't get caught up in the number of steps and all of that, because people do. You can effectively treat in a smaller number of steps. And I'll explain all that to you in a lesson where I'm teaching affirmative prayer. Mr. Bales was known all over for his 7 R's. It was a way of teaching people how to do effective affirmative prayer. He wanted you to do prayers that would produce results, and that's what you would want also. So these are more suggestions. The first step is bring yourself to a place of relaxation. Whatever you're going to do and however you're going to do it, find a place where you can be comfortable, where you can bring your body and your mind into a place of relaxation. Secondly, I'll first say, in your first step, do some gentle breathing, quiet your space, do something where you could recognize that there is a power in the world, a power in you operating through you. Step number 2, he said, we recognize that we're not speaking into a void. We recognize that we're surrounded by this creative mind, the creative mind of the universe, and we know that it receives our thoughts, every one of them. It receives all of our words, and it sets about to work upon the words and thoughts that we have and bring them into material form. Number 3 is our relationship. We consciously unify with this creative essence, knowing that we ourselves, we are, or the person we're praying for, and this energy, this creative intelligence is all the same thing. We're all one. So you live in it, you move in it, and you're part of it. And no matter whether you're praying for yourself or you're praying for another person, we understand that this relationship is a unity. In other words, you realize I'm a part of this. Okay, so we have a relationship with Source. You're part of Source. I don't know how else to say that. There can never be any separation in your mind. In this step, you realize that you have a relationship with it. You're part of it. You're one with it. As I've studied these classes and ministerial courses, we talk about the word oneness. You are one with Source. There's never 2, there's always 1. There is this power, this presence, and it's in you, operating through you. It's the same presence that's in and operating in everything, everywhere, all at the same time. So that will lead you to the next idea that Spirit is all that there is. Or you might say God is all that there is. This creative thing is in all things, everywhere, all at once. The 4th R is reasoning. To arrive at this inner place of knowing, this certainty, it's important to dissolve all your doubts. So We go through a process in our affirmative prayer of reasoning. We want to neutralize the doubts. We want to release the doubts so we can arrive at a place of perfect faith, arrive at a place of certainty. So that's the reasoning. Whatever doubts come up, whatever what ifs come up, or whatever fears come up, or whatever it is, his word was we want to, in our mind, after we quiet ourselves down, right, we want to reason with ourselves so we can release all this stuff. We want to dissolve the doubts. We go through what he called a process of reasoning so we can neutralize and release and to get to this place of certainty. The next R is realization. Once we've arrived at the point where we realize the inner perfection of the one, once we're there and we realize I'm one with the one, and we know it, we sense it, we feel it. And so that's the part of treatment where you have a feeling. You've arrived, and you'll know you're there because you've arrived at a place of calm, quiet, and assurance. Rev Wade, who was one of the ministers, used to be quoting Troward, who was another author. He said, you've got to get to the point where there is a feeling, where you have a shift in consciousness. We used to talk about this in many classes where we say we have to get to the point where we know shift has happened. So we used to play with those words, but realization is where we really know, and we know that we've arrived at this place where something has moved within us. Once we have done that, the next R he mentions is release. And this is important because once you've done the work, you've had the shift in consciousness, you want to release this perfect idea, and we want to know that we're not responsible for the outcome of any affirmative prayer. The thing to remember always is Spirit does the work. You don't do the work. You don't push, you don't shove, you don't plead. We're not responsible. All we want to do in this particular sixth step is release this perfect idea. Knowing the outcome of affirmative prayer is done. We know our responsibility is to build a very clear picture in our mind of the perfection of ourselves and of others, knowing that each person is an individualization of Source itself. We come to the point where we release the need to see the flaw in ourselves and others. This is very important. We are active in releasing doubts, worry, criticism, and judgment. We release a clear image to the creative mind. So this is the thing, if you can visualize yourself doing all this, you've gone through this process where you've reasoned, you've become clear, and you're really coming to the conclusion that Spirit is all that there is. You get to a point where you can release a clear image to the creative mind. Clear image, clear of doubt and fear and all the rest. So you can release. We give thanks for the success of our affirmative prayer, releasing it to Spirit to work it out, knowing that there will be a perfect demonstration, that it will be worked out as we have pictured or in even a better way. So we can be excited in knowing that life, first and foremost, is responding to us. It's responding to us all the time. To bring this lesson together, summarize a little bit, we have such a tremendous gift in affirmative prayer. Even those of you who are actively working with your affirmations, that's a great way to start turning the tide, to turn things around. I remember a great teacher, Dr. Jane Claypool, who passed away not that long ago, saying to me when we were at conferences together that affirmative prayer is the crown jewel of our teaching. And she said it's such a tremendous gift when we learn how to do them. The thing with affirmative prayer, if you were to go to our glossary in our textbook, under treatment, Ernest Holmes would say it's the time, it's the art, it's the method. Time, art, method of releasing the negation. So it's whatever time it takes, it's the art, it's the method of getting all that negativity, that negation, that negativity, sinking thinking, all the negative things out of us. And he goes on to say, so we can perceive, the miraculous, the divine, because the kingdom that you've heard since you're children, probably in many religions, the kingdom of God is at hand. It's always here. It's always now. It's always available. But most of the world doesn't see it. They don't because they can't. They can't because they're caught up in what we'll call this race mind, all the negativity in the world. And once you clear all that debris away, your old ideas, your old training, what we affectionately call BS, all the belief systems away, what remains is this, the divine fact that you're living in this energy and you always are a part of it and it's always going to respond to you. That's what it does. So those of us who are in the teaching really have a tremendous gift just to be awake in it. And you want to stay awake in it. You want to stay awake in it so you don't go into the, I'll call it the dream world where everything's a problem and poor me and ain't it awful. You come into new thought and you're given new vision. You can see the world as it truly is. The Course in Miracles would have you say, to see the miraculous. When miracles are not happening, the language is something's gone wrong. It's not that anything's gone wrong in the world, it's just that we have bought into that collective notion, where everything is a problem. All of life, just the opposite, is unfolding. It's moving forward. It seems slower than we want in some ways. And then on the other side of the coin, it's speeding, but it's going very fast. The thing that we can do in our life is we can slow down. We can seize the moment. We can seize the day. We can learn to take a pause and to know that all is well. Everything is perfect. Everything is unfolding in your life beautifully. We've been through a lot, some of us, but we're much stronger. We've grown a lot and we've learned a lot. And so you want to take heart all of those messages and know, truthfully, as Louise Hay said often, all is well. So the teaching's a gift. Please don't be concerned about the 7 steps or the 5 steps. I wrestled around with them all my life, and ultimately it boils down to 2 or 3 ideas. And the first of which is there is this thing. The textbook calls it the thing, which used to bother me when I was younger. There is this energy, this love that's omnipresent, and it's in you and it's operating through you. Those are the first 2 steps of affirmative prayer. And then you're going to declare something that's always been true. I'm whole and I'm healthy. There's a perfect pattern of health and prosperity and love in me, operating through me. That's 2. I release this idea into the perfect. You can just do that. There are 3 steps. You recognize that there is this and you're a part of it. And you know it is so and you can release it. And you can know all is well. So there's 3 steps. So in other classes, I'll teach you the other steps. But it's really important to know that you are an inlet of it, you're an outlet of it, you live in it, you move in it, and you can heal your life because deep at the center of your being is everything you'll ever need. And that'll be it for today. So my closing notes, we have power within us that we can use to achieve great things. You can see love instead of anything you're seeing. You can see opportunities and you can see abundance. You can see the best in all situations if you really want to. It's our responsibility to develop a healing consciousness. It won't happen without you. We're not here to criticize anyone. We're not fault finders. We're here to love and we're here to be lifters. I have a little meditation for you. I forgot for closing. So let's take a moment, close our eyes, take a few deep breaths, feel the calmness wash over us. Recognize that you are surrounded by the creative mind of the universe. It's in you, it's around you. Feel yourself at one with it. Know that you have the power within you to create and manifest anything you desire. Take a moment now to visualize perfect health, happiness, and prosperity for yourself. See yourself as being healthy, happy, and prosperous. Release any doubts you might have or negative thoughts. Rejoice in the knowledge that your affirmative prayer is already working. Feel the gratitude and excitement within, knowing that life is responding to you now. And let's reflect on a couple of questions. What is one negative thought or judgment that you can release today? Just one. One more question. How can you embody a little bit more peace and love in your daily interactions? Yes. How can you embody a little bit more peace and love in your daily interactions? Whatever comes to mind, jot it down. So when you're ready to open your eyes and carry this peaceful, powerful feeling with you, thank you for joining in our gathering today. We look forward to hearing from you in just a minute, the other side of the break. Please feel free to share what it's been like being you or whatever comes up for you in this lesson. So we're going to open up the microphones and looking forward to hearing from everyone. Thank you.